On my way to PhD, building a better life. Honing skills, transforming me according to my vision of life. I'm building my postdoc transformation. I'm building my postdoc transformation. I'm building my postdoc transformation. Well aware there's more to life than higher education. Need more space to grow and thrive. With new inspiration, I'm building my postdoc transformation. I'm building my postdoc transformation. I'm building my postdoc transformation. Welcome to your postdoc transformation. I'm your host, Professor Dr. Soei-Winkels, and I'm really happy to see you here all on YouTube, LinkedIn, and also TikTok. I'm trying out because this is really the rehearsal technically for tomorrow's event for National Postdoc Appreciation Week. This is the kickoff of my personal National Postdoc Appreciation Week, and we'll be recording live an episode for my postdoc transformation show, which is called Working Out Your Future. Right. Good. So let's see. Let's check whether you will also see the title of the show, which is called Working Out Your Future. Now, what does that mean? Well, I hope that during your early years of the postdoc, you are already figuring out what you want to do after the postdoc, whether you continue to become a professor, or whether you say, well, now this is the time to leap into business. And if it's time for you to leap into business, this episode is right up your alley. All right. So maybe you are new to us, and I hope that I'm not. But if I'm new to us or to you, obviously, then you would also appreciate and find it valuable that I have 20 plus episodes for scientists leaping into business. All right, so without further ado, the first slide really is, I want you to know that this recording is the sequel of a previous episode, number 4, which is called The Future of Work for New PhD Holders in Business. All right, so I'm not going to reiterate that, but instead I will add a lot of other content that I think is well needed 6 months after the first time I recorded it. And I think that you will find that valuable. Please also check this one out, and then we can, build from there on. So you are young, right? So you're younger than me. I'm already 42, but you're probably as a postdoc, you're probably more in your 30s or so. That means the cost of living affects you the hardest, because currently we've got the corona crisis, which is an endemic. Then we've got the war in Europe, at least. Then we've got this energy crisis, and that really is a human energy crisis at the end of the day, right? So this crisis also affects the costs of living. They rise, and that hits you the hardest as you see them built at the moment according to your vision of life, right? So maybe you can raise your hand and say, yeah, I'm already, putting money aside for building a house, or, to provide for my family if I want to have a family with children, etc. So if you raise your hand, then you're probably in a very, privileged situation, but most of you as postdocs probably don't earn that much money. And also your career prospects for the future are really more clouded or unsure, at least. So at the moment, probably you're thinking, well, is it all worth it or not? And I want you to at least give you an alternative career for your, whatever you do after your postdoc. All right, so relevant is that you build a future-proof skill set of things, of skills, competencies that will also make you suitable to the job market for employers, or maybe also to build up your own company, because in the future of work, there are a lot of skills that are needed, and not all of them are, built or honed during your scientific career, right? So as a PhD, as a postdoc, you're certainly building research skills, analytical skills, etc. But not all of them have a, are very, aligned to what the future skills are. And I want you to know that, and I want you to build your future skills right now already with this episode, and that you will, plan all your future projects, industry collaborations, something like that, to, build up your transferable skills. All right. Do not rely on naive employers or leaders. That also that also goes for academic leaders. Yeah. So your supervisor, your principal investigator, your professor, all of them who never left academia, who never leaped out of science, who never worked in business, who never built up a business on their own, don't know this, right? So they can't know this, they don't know this, and why should they know this? Because they spent all their lives in academia. So don't rely on them when they say the job market will be waiting for you or something like that, right? So yes, we have an employee market, but only for those who are well equipped to, tackle the future challenges. And as long as you don't have the future skills, it'll be hard for you. And that's why I urge you to think about them, and I will tell you in a bit what these future skills are. All right. So AI, artificial intelligence, especially the, large language models, so LLM, large language models, that's voice, text, and image processing. These change the jobs of tomorrow, right? So the jobs of today and tomorrow are already, at risk to be automated, right? So there will be more and more new jobs that nowadays the people don't know already, the employers don't know already, and most of the workers the workforce aren't equipped either. But they have one advantage: they already know the business. When you leap into business as a postdoc without business and industries experience, this will be also new. So you have to have the new, you to face the new experience in business, but also to, prove that you also have the future skills. That's why you should build them right now. So most of the employers, businesses, they stress the importance of AI skills. And the good thing is, if you are a quantitative researcher, then learning AI is probably, at least prompting and using AI wisely is probably very near to, or relatively near to, your skill set as a researcher than it is for people who are, well advanced in their career, but never coded or never, are far away from learning a new skill already, right? So if you can, try to prioritize learning AI skills, learning how to use the prompts and to prompt on your own and something like that. So these are things, and we'll be talking about the emerging jobs in a later slide. But also you should see that most of the tasks that are not automated, or I should put it differently, most of the tasks that are able to be automated will be automated. And these are the jobs that you don't want. That's why I put an X to that. But a lot of jobs will be augmented by AI. And that means you need to master using AI to be more proficient in your job, right? Then there are very few jobs that are not affected, not exposed, I shall say. And maybe you'll find a niche there to leap into these niches, right? Okay, so top skills that you need to hone. One is the first one is analytical thinking. And hooray, this is a researcher's top skill, right? Then number two is creative thinking, right? So we are able to creatively think. The only thing is that we usually go by facts and by experiments, by hypothesis testing, and so on and so forth. So we are creative in thinking of the research task, but then we follow a protocol. And this is something that I see a lot of scientists, researchers, ex-scientists, having a problem with in business, because we're not the natural creative thinkers in the sense of, divergent thinkers, right? So we think of problem solving, yes, but not as creative. So we need to tackle that, because sometimes you don't have the time to, put in the work, put in the experiments, look into the data, and so on and so on. That doesn't mean that it's not right. But the thing is, we need to be more flexible, adaptable, and to roll with the punches. And that's something scientists usually have more time on their hands to, protocol everything, to repeat their experiments, to, revise. And that's in business not possible. So you need to roll with the punches. And that leads also to number 3, which is resilience, flexibility, and agility. Like I said, I would say the speed in business is so much faster. And this is something that I really learned. I had to, hit the ground running, so to speak. So this is something that I learned, and I would urge you to think about. Number 4 is the motivation and self-awareness. I think that most of the researchers that I know are really intrinsically motivated. So if you are intrinsically motivated, you have all that it takes to survive also in business, because you don't need someone else to motivate you, to elicit motivation for you. You are able to, lead yourself, and that's a really great asset. The thing is that probably most of the researchers I know are also really self-aware, and they're not really confident, maybe because they might be excellent in their research, but they are overly thinking and questioning themselves, questioning their life choices, questioning everything. And that means that you are maybe less confident, and your self-efficacy might be less than someone in business who is not maybe thinking as far as you could and can and do, but instead of them, maybe they are maybe bolder or so. So this is something that you need to be also aware of. All right, number 5 is curiosity and lifelong learning. And yes, this is something that we have. We always learn, and that's always great. So check. Number 6. Number 6 is technological literacy. And I think that is something that we really excel, especially when we are STEMists, right? So when we are in STEM. But also, I would say that especially in qualitative research, when we use also software to to code for qualitative interviews and analysis. So I think that these are also skills that we build. And number 7 is dependability and attention to detail. And I think that this is also something that a researcher probably has under his belt, or it's her belt. Number 8 is, empathy and active listening. And I would say that we've been really good students. Probably to become a researcher, you need to be a good student. So you probably are able to actively listen. However, I know that there are a lot of toxic cultures in academia, and to survive, you probably have to be the best. And being the best does not always align with empathy. And that's why I also urge you to think about that. How empathetic are you? Because this is a skill that will really help you in business. Because nowadays, as people are a lot of people are facing a technological disruption. They're anxious to work with AI and something like that. And if you're not empathetic, then you probably won't be able to either lead the people or to work with them in a way that will also, so that you as a team, as a company, will reach the goals, so to speak. Right. So number 9, leadership and social influence. And like I said, especially when you want to become a leader, just like you have become one as a postdoc, because as a postdoc you already are a leader for your your subgroup, your lab, your PhD students, your bachelor master students, something like that. So for them you are already probably a leader. And the question is, if you want to become a leader as well in business, then you probably need to be, you need to learn the name of the game and to be humble, but probably you are able to lead because you have a fast processor and you probably have the capacity to lead. The only thing it does have to have, it does have to go hand in hand with your empathy and your active listening, because usually people without a PhD are probably more intimidated and they don't know whether you will jump ship as soon as possible and return to academia, or whether you can lead their project to success, because you've never lead a project like that in business to success. So something like that. So you need to show some leadership skills to convince them. And I would say that you've got what it takes, but it's probably more, you need to convince them. All right. And that's also social influence. And I see a lot of scientists doing SciComm, and that's terrific, because I think that with scientific communication, you also learn how to convince others and to have a social influence. And that's something that is well needed also in business. And then number 10 is quality control. And I would say this is also a check given for any researcher. We wouldn't publish, we wouldn't submit anything without a thorough quality control, right? So that's in our upbringing within academia. All right, so these are the top skills of 2023. If you have any questions, please let me know via LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. I try to check them all. At least at the latest, I'll be also answering them in the final edit of this show, because this is a live stream, and I will also edit that for the podcast. All right, slide number 6 is about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this is a true add-on to the Future of Work episode, because I haven't talked about it. And the Future of Work episode that I recorded was, speaking to everyone without acknowledging that for some of us, being underrepresented, underprivileged, underserved, for some of us, there are more obstacles at hand. And for us to, get a seat at the table, to be respected, to be not questioned, it's harder for some of us, right? So, and these obstacles, these prejudices are also intersectional. So I'm a woman, I'm a person of color, I'm young. At least I was young when I started to do my PhD, and I was 33 when I became a professor of industrial and occupational psychology. And sometimes when I wore a suit, I was mistaken to be the waitress, to be someone, not belonging there on stage, but instead I was the professor, and most of them were not, right? So I can tell a lot of stories. I'm also a mom of 2 children, and that also changed the perspective of some people, even though it didn't change me as a person or my qualities or my competencies. But I'm telling you, I know what it means to be affected. And that's why I'm also an advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm really happy to include that in this episode so that you can have a listen on that. So I can only tell you that you should seek an employer that is focusing on diversity, equity, and belonging, right? So, and then also inclusion, obviously, because when a company focuses on that, you can only win, even if you're not LGBTIQ plus, even if you're not old, even if you're a man, even if you're a whatever, right? So a company that focuses on diversity, inclusion, belonging, and equity, they always, are more open to provide chances to everyone and not just a single group that looks like, white, old, privileged, male, whatever, right? So they will rather appreciate your intersectionality. You can be the first. You can be the first to, hit the glass ceiling and to reach and go to the top. I wish you that. But at the same time, I know a lot of people who didn't make it to the top, even though they were better than the mediocre person that reached the top because they look like them, who promoted them, right? So this is why I'm telling you, as a postdoc leaping into business, you don't have time to lose, right? So this is already your second career choice, right? You've opted to become a scientist with a PhD, then you prolong the situation to become a postdoc. Now, if you change your mind, you don't have time to lose, and that's why don't just take one job, a job, whatever. Don't take the offer of another, of a company you don't really have research, but instead choose wisely a company that really fosters inclusion, because at best this is the company where you can stay a couple of years, and if you're a woman and you want to get kids, if you want to get pregnant, these couple of 5 years or so will be making a difference, because if you then become pregnant, return to work, and you don't have to start from scratch, that will be really, really valuable for you. All right, next slide. Trends business no sorry Next slide. Trends driving business transformation. So like I already alluded to earlier, I'm a professor of industrial and occupational psychology, and that's why I probably have a different take on the things that I'm teaching. So usually I talk about career transition from science into academia, science into business. So I would say that for my students who are bachelor and master students, I also teach them these slides so that they know that the business transformation that are, up and coming or already taking place are driven by technology. They're driven by digital opportunities, new business models, and stuff like that. But the thing is, the tech is relatively easy. It's the people who need to change that is the hard thing, right? So as a psychologist working in business, I know that overcoming resistance, overcoming anxieties of the workers, of the workforce is really a challenge. All right. So number one is they need to increase the adoption rate of new and frontier technologies. Okay. Technologies are up and coming, and they're, coming at a faster pace. You don't even have an overview of the things for next year. So what people need to know and need to be able is that they are adapting or adopting the new technologies faster. So how can you increase their learning capabilities? Number two is broadening digital access from a societal perspective. I'm afraid of all the people who live in Germany or in a different country, whatever, because I know that there's this, there is this curve of people who are able to adopt and to be, part of to contribute to the changes, but there are a lot of people who are not able to do that, and that's a lot of people. So broadening the digital access for everyone, not just the top people who understand and can contribute, is really a government's challenge. And if you were able to use your mental capacity to solve these kinds of problems, that will be a very purposeful job, or purposeful, job family, so to speak. Number three, broader application of environmental, social, and governance, ESG standards, right? So I haven't talked about industry sectors here in this episode. Again, check back with episode number 4, because I talked about green energy and stuff like that. So this is what we need to talk about here with the environmental issues, so sustainability, something like that. If you do this, then you probably can, contribute on a larger scale that is also leverageable, and also maybe satisfactionable for you. Maybe, is that a word? I don't know. I think so. So maybe it really serves your purpose. So number 4 is rising costs of living for consumers. So these are also drivers that drive, or trends that drive business transformation. So if you are able to, lower the costs, in the sense that you can, create deliverables, create services, products, or whatever that can be distributed to the consumers at a lower price or in a more tangible way. Also, this is also something that you would also, contribute on a larger scale, and where your competences are needed. And number 5 is the slower global economic growth. And that is also something that, the costs are rising. People cannot afford to buy a lot of things. So how can you, reallocate the goods between the richer people and the poorer people, so that a country can also, catch up or even leapfrog, or at least stay in that position. And I think that the digital and also the technology opportunities are there. And if you can, increase the opportunities to, or leverage the opportunities to those who are needing them, then that's also a purposeful job for you. All right. So talking about technology adoption, so the top 10 is number 10 is, or number 1 is digital platforms and apps. So increasing or developing apps that allow people to, learn more or something like that is great. So for example, learning apps for school kids whose parents do not speak the native language of the kids when they're living in a different country, for example. This is something that really would help most of the people, most of the kids to, not being dependent on the family to reach a certain scholastic goal, right? So for example, in Germany, it's usually academics get children who become academics, right? So they raise them in a different way. But my kids are already in primary school at the moment, and I see that a lot of parents are struggling because they don't speak German. So how can they help their kids to become more proficient in German and other tasks? Because a lot of things are, a lot of the tasks in school are now not, or just poorly understood by the parents. So how can you create digital platforms that allow every school kid to participate, to contribute as, as they are able to, and not just, allowed to, because their parents cannot, help them as much as I could, maybe as a German native, so to speak. So number 2 is education and workforce development tech, and that goes hand in hand, like I said, not just for the schools, but K-12 or whatever you want to call it in the US. But number 2 is education and workforce development tech, and the same applies to workforce, right? So in the workforce, you don't have only just, the millennials or the Gen Z or whatever, but you also have still boomers who are not ready to, go into retirement, but still they need to be able to tackle all the technology, all the tech challenges. And how can you allow them to contribute to learn, lifelong learning, and to contribute their experience towards the current and future challenges of the business, right? So how can you educate, help them to, to participate? And number 3 is big data analytics. So if you are able to use big data analytics to, not only to use, but also to engineer the data, in the sense of knowing strategically what data you are looking for, to create the databases, and to, collect the data in a way that it's, morally, ethically, more represented data, and something like that. So all these kind of skills are really needed. And then number 4 is Internet of Things and connected devices. That has been already, at the forefront for a lot of years, so that's nothing new, as well as like big data analytics. But Internet of Things is, well, everything is connected, every device is connected, so there's less, communication needed from people looking at the, the machine, but instead the machines talk to themselves via interfaces, and the better these interfaces are used, and the better they exchange information that is easily to work on, the better the process can work. And that's also cheaper, obviously. Number 5 is cloud computing, so less centralized, more up. Oh, sorry. And cloud computing is, a lot of people were in 2012, 2014 or so were afraid to not save the data on premise within the company borders, but instead they had to use the cloud. They wanted to use the cloud to be more flexible, to work more and efficient. And that if you are able to exploit the cloud and to bring the technology to the people and to make them work in the cloud much better, then this is also a great opportunity for you. Then number 6 is encryption and cybersecurity, and I would say that this is more expert knowledge than anything else, right? So I would say that for scientists, we can work on a lot of things, but not necessarily on encryption and cybersecurity. You should have the background for that. But number 7 is maybe more interesting with the e-commerce thing and digital trade. I know that being a salesperson is probably, very far away from being a scientist. But on the other hand, when you're looking at scientific communication, SciComm, then that's also selling your ideas. And, you need to reach the people, to speak the language of your targeted people and something like that. So I would say when you look at it from a different perspective, then sales is also something that maybe scientists can learn and eventually also enjoy. So let's see whether that is maybe a trait or, a branch for you, so to speak. And then number 8 is AI. I already said that AI is a great trend for you to jump on. And I would say I worked in IT strategy. I worked as an IT analyst, and then after that, I went to Accenture to work as an IT strategy consultant. And I would say that this is really something, a day and age where working with AI is maybe easier, because if you understand English and you can think logically, then using prompts will be easy to, interplay with AI and machine learning and something like that. It's definitely easier than 10 years ago when you had to, look into the hard code and to reach the goals. Right. Number 9 is environmental management tech. And I would say that this is also what I said about the number 10 as well. So green energy, tech sector, something like that. So if you do this, then this is also a ticket for you to leap into business in a way that is probably very sustainable, because this is where, a lot of effort will be needed. And if you can contribute to that, then your skills will be also valued and monetizable. All right. So without further ado, let's talk about the jobs that are fastest growing, because I think that this is what you want to know. And number 1 is AI and machine learning specialist. So without a surprise, I would say this is one of the best jobs that you can do. If this is not what you want to do, then number 2 is probably like sustainability specialist. So like I said, green energy, but you don't have to do green energy, but you could also be in a company, the person for corporate responsibility, sustainability, something like that. Because I know already of companies whose shareholders also look at how ESG compliant are these companies, because if they're not, there will be legal fees. And that means a company needs to be sustainable to, get a job not a job, but a mandate or whatever, get the contract of a sub delivery and something like that. So sustainability really is critical. And if you are a specialist for that in a company that is not sustainable enough, then that's probably a good ticket for you as well. Number 3 is business intelligence analyst, and also number 4, information security analyst. Analysts. So number 3 is business intelligence analyst, and number 4 is information security, so IT security analyst. So These are two roles that I did myself. Business analyst, definitely, also in IT, and I've worked in IT security contexts or projects. So I would say this is also feasible for a psychologist like I am. All right, number 5 is fintech engineers. I would say this is already a bit more far advanced, but also number 6 is great for us because data analytics is, sexy, right? So it's been sexy for 12 years and it will be even more sexy in the next couple of 5 years or so. So data analysts, data scientists, this is the place to be for you if you are already, sufficient in Python and MATLAB or whatever. That is always easily transferable to all the skills that you need to have as a data analyst. All right, so number 7 is robotics engineer. And tomorrow I'll be talking with Professor Dr. Carlotta A. Berry, who is a robotics engineer, a professor for robotics engineering, and she'll be playing with me the Postdoc Transformation card game series, where we'll be talking about a couple of questions that you can ask your professor. So this is my, hint for tomorrow's event, also for National Postdoc Appreciation Week. Same time, like 23 hours, in 23 hours or so. All right. Then number 8, e-tech engineers. Again, I would say this is a little bit far away. And number 9 as well, but maybe you can work in agriculture because this is really important to, get the food to, the poorest areas of these worlds, right? Of this world, right? So we need to think about how we can, balance the goods, the agricultural goods, the food, the processors, the whatever it is that is, needed to eat good food. How can we, balance that towards the countries that are really in need? And that's number 9. And then number 10, digital transformation specialist. Well, I would say that this is also no surprise, right? So if we can help, if you can help to transform businesses in a digital way, that's great. The question is, are you able to do this? And I would say that, well, if you are able to use your analytical skills to dig deeper into the transformational business to build a business acumen, but to also build entrepreneurial acumen, entrepreneurial spirit, and also these things, look into episode or listen to episode number 4, Future of Work, because if it doesn't make sense at the moment, it will make sense when we talk about digital transformation in that episode, because I don't want to reiterate that. All right, so number 9 or number 10 is, these are the sources, and obviously in a live session, I won't go into detail of these, but in my final show notes on my website, www.postdoctransformation, I will also list link also all sources so that you can look them up. One of the sources is brand new, just as of today, because that's from the World Economic Forum and my previous company, Accenture, because they've been talking about the jobs of the future, and one of those sites were directly, referring to this report, to this white paper that is actually that has been probably presented today at the conference. All right, so I just finished, and I hope that you have learned something. Let's see. What can I also do for you? I have a free check of your readiness to leap into business. If you want to check that out, you can see that on my website, www.postdoctransformation.com. It's 15 yes and no questions that you can ask or answer yourself. And then you see whether, you are ready to leap out of science. And if you are determined to leap into business, then you can also check out my free email course, Career Transition Made Simple, which consists of 10 emails that you get until you land your job. So on demand, you can get them, as you need, and ask questions or whatever, because every question that you ask I will probably turn into an episode for your seasonal postdoc transformation show. Again, this is the show for scientists leaping into business. I also sing the audio jingle, and well, I hope that you enjoy that and you find value in that. And if you have any questions, please let me know, because that really fuels my postdoc transformation show. Because I don't want to ask anything, some funny questions, but I would rather ask and also answer the questions of my audience, the postdoc transformers. I hope that I see you tomorrow as well. Tomorrow we will stream live from TikTok as well, and I hope that you will enjoy our postdoc transformation card game, because this is the first time that Professor Dr. Carlotta A. Berry and I will play it live, because usually we just do it and stitch each other. So this will be exciting as well. All right. So if you want to know what I also do, I offer paid courses for career transition workshops and something like that for PhD students and postdocs at graduate schools all over the world. If you need my services, you can also let me know. And if you get me booked, I will also give you a recurrent commission fee of 50%, right? So it's a great deal for you. If you recommend me and get me booked at your graduate school, you will be part of you will earn a lot of that. All right. So without further ado, thank you for watching and listening on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. And I hope that you found value in this show. And please recommend us to your scholar besties. Maybe there's someone who needs to know this, someone who needs to watch the replay. I will probably need a week or so until I have edited, or my team has edited, all of the raw material. But you will find all full transcripts and the edited versions of that on my website, www.postdoctransformation.com. And I hope that, you have a nice evening. Bye-bye.